Right, a very good evening. Welcome to the revision session for SBL. Students, am I audible? Can you hear me? If anyone has concerns with the audio, please let me know. Are we good? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Right, perfect. The pre-scene has not yet been released. So, how today's purpose is for you, where I'll be taking you through the previous case studies, the previous pre-scenes, so that you'll have an understanding what sort of information the examiner provides, as well as what to expect once the pre-scene is released. And most of all, I will also show you how I collect information from the pre-scene. If you look at the past papers, as well as the mock papers, the examiner, to ensure that the pre-scene is not biased, typically takes niche industries. Some of the cases were based on IT companies. One was based on an aircraft company, which provides airline services. And there was also a case where we were managing a football club. You know, if there are soccer fans who are interested in, let's say, AC Milan, Inter Milan, okay, these professional clubs. So we also had a case where we were managing a football club, which is actually a company. And then, yeah, there was also a case where we were running a company that was manufacturing games. So see, these are all niche areas. Most of us typically work in FMCG, financial services, IT, some are into academics. So these are very general, broad areas where majority of people are employed. But the cases the examiner typically takes are areas where most of the students do not have sufficient exposure. This is to ensure that it's not biased. And it's also quite interesting because the examiner gives you the necessary technical details in the pre-scene. So even if you are not familiar with the given industry, the information given in the case is more than enough. The examiner specifically stated, do not bring information outside the case. Let's say one of you are actually working in the industry that is tested in the exams. Do not bring facts from your personal experience, but you can use your personal experience to analyze the data given in the pre-scene and the exam. You can use your personal experience to analyze the data, but you should not bring personal experience to. You should not bring outside facts to the answer sheet. Right. So today we'll be looking at the pre-scene that was the final pre-scene for the previous session, which is the March 2024 exams. As at yesterday, your pre-scene was not yet released, and your pre-mock pre-scene is also something that's common. So we'll be also looking at that if there is sufficient time. So if you look at the March exams, right? So this is one of the more interesting, pre-scenes where we were into football. So we were running a football club. Your pre-scene on average will be around 10 pages. So you can see here. So I'll just quickly take you through the sections. In any pre-scene, the examiner will give you an introduction to the case, industry information. Now it's about football sector. So, and then he will also give you information on, when it comes to industry, it will include the local market, international market, competitors, and any other relevant technical information. So as you can see, in terms of competitors, they have provided leading teams. Okay, so you have leading teams and their information as well. And then an overview to the company. Overview to the company. They will give you details related to the company. Okay, So you know the history of the company, the performance of the company, the strength and weakness of the company, and what matters for the case. Things like board structure and their departmental systems, their resources, stadium, training facilities. So see, football club is quite different from a typical manufacturing organization. And in the last year's cases, most of the pre-scenes had also included an element on website extracts. So I've been observing this particular area, this particular section on website extras given for many of the pre-scenes. Because see, nowadays, when you're running an organization, you cannot get rid of the influence of internet. Even if you are having your operations offline, if you are not selling online, but still, even if you are having a single store where you manufacture and sell a product at the store, no e-commerce sales, but still you should have online presence. So online presence is mandatory for any organization. Small scale startups start with social media. They are present in social media, so Facebook, Insta, and others. When companies expand, obviously they will have to expand their presence in the internet, from social media to websites and all. So you can expect website extracts, and I also observed the final exam asking questions related to websites. The most typical question is they would ask you to analyze the current website and ask you to provide recommendations on how to improve the website. So I hope you guys had learned in your lectures theory on essential or key features that you recommend in a normal website. A normal website should be having a convenient interface for users to understand. They should have things like a chat box, an FAQ, and details about contact. So all of these are typical features you see in a normal website nowadays. So recommendations, if they basically test you on this, these are some easy marks. On top of this, and they will also provide a financial information extract. And keep in mind, students, pre-scene is given for the purpose of you to understand the company situation, the industry situation. In the exam, there are some perceptions telling that pre-scene is not actually required. To be honest, in the final exam, the tasks given have related extracts, have related, attachments, exhibits. So in the final exam, they will give you post-scene information. They will give you limited exhibits and the tasks. And tasks are related to the exhibits given in the final exam. But that does not mean pre-scene is not needed. Pre-scene is needed for you to understand what's going on in the company. See, two companies experiencing the same problem, you will have two different responses. Two companies, same problem, same industry, but two different strategies, two different responses. Why? Because their situation is different, their background is different. For you to so the first thing you need to know is understanding your background. So that is provided in the pre-scene. I hope you remember the strategic marketing process or the strategic management process. 3 stages: strategic position or strategic analysis, strategic choice, strategic options, and strategic action or called strategic implementation. First step, strategic position, strategic analysis. Understand your current situation, internal environment, external environment, everything. So that's given in the pre-scene. So only when you have a thorough understanding of the pre-scene, you know the ins and outs of the company. You know the situation of the company, situation of the industry. You know what's happening. So this is what you need to understand your current situation. And based on the understanding of the current situation, In the exam, they will give you related exhibits and the tasks. Yes, and the tasks has to be answered by referring to the exhibits, but do not forget your current situation, which is the present. The exam has provided you 2 weeks so that you can have a proper understanding of the present. Now, there are 10 pages normally for the last many sessions. It was approximately 10 pages. So the first thing that I recommend you is, students yourself will have your own methods of learning. Okay, there are some students who want detailed notes, some students who are okay with having summarized notes. But no matter what method you take, make sure that you personally read, you personally note down the information, because it's not effective to read the noted information of others, because each of us have different learning abilities. So this is something I did when I read the pre-scene for the first time. So I'll take you through this so that you have an understanding of the information provided in the pre-scene, as well as one of the methods you can use to note down the information. So it's been 3 months since I basically created this file, and I'm opening it now after 3 months. But still, based on how I noted down the information, I should be able to extract information. So I'll take you through this. So the purpose of today's session is for you to get familiar with what sort of information is given in the pre-scene, as well as you preparing a style of noting down information. Once you prepare this document, this information, you can completely ignore the pre-scene. Once you prepare this document, you can read this document once, twice, thrice, as long as you get familiar with the information. Okay, good, right. So introduction, the first section. Okay, we are from Athletic Transcentral Football Club, so we'll be calling it as AT. So we are from AT, and we were in the football league of the country. Okay, the country of Thailand, which is located in the continent of Wakya, just like country of Sri Lanka. Here it's country of Thailand in the continent of Wakya. So AT is a football club that is active in the football league of the country of Thailand. It's owned by the AT company, Athletic Transcentral Company, same name, but it's a company. And this company's sole objective is to operate the football club. So it's owned by AT company. AT company's only objective is to run the football club. So football club is not one of their projects. It's the only project. So the company was created solely for the football club. They don't have any other activities going on. And the performance of the company is evaluated based on its many factors, where we identified that in the past they had many successes, but at present they are struggling. Okay? So typically, if you look at performance, we always think about revenue and profit. And if you take an industry like football, professional football clubs, their revenue and profit depends on many factors. As in, one of the main factors is the success of their competitions. If they win competitions, they'll be successful. They get popular. Their popularity increases. They get sponsorships. They win money from the competitions. So we'll be looking at this in detail in the next segment. So at least now we know what's the bottleneck. They were successful in the past, but they're struggling at present. If you look at the industry of football, professional footballs, this sport can be segmented into men's football, women's football, as well as children's football, which is under 18. Students, give me a minute. Now there's the call for prayer going on. Let's be back in 1.5 minutes. Okay. All right, I'm sorry for the break. So coming back, in terms of the segments, football is a sport. Football has men's segment, women's segment, and children's segment. It's under 19, under 18, sorry. So from the country to country, they'll be different. In current professional football, there is under 17, under 19, under 21. So you can ignore those information. So you have to only follow the facts given in the case, under 18. And when it comes to football clubs in general, they can also be classified based on the purpose of football clubs. There are professional football clubs. Then there is also recreational football clubs. Recreational football clubs are where football clubs operate for the purpose of recreation, having fun, entertainment, for leisure. But there are also professional football clubs where they consider football as a profession. So players here are full-time employees. Football is their profession. If you look at professional clubs in Thailand, so we are not thinking about recreational clubs. We are looking at professional clubs. If you look at professional clubs in the country of Thailand, most of these professional clubs, have a first and a second team. We have the first team, which is the main team, second team, which is the reserve team. Okay, I am also not into football. I love watching highlights. I love watching the way they score, but I have no knowledge on the sport itself. We are more into cricket, right? But still, all of this information are provided in the pre-seed. There's nothing extra. I have only instant information in the pre-seed. So this is how you read, you note down the information, and after you note down your information, you should be able to create this mind map. So most clubs have a first team, which is the main team, and a second team, which is also called the reserve team. They have the men's first team and second team, women's first team and second team. Okay, as I said before, first team has the best players, second team are reserves to fill out any vacancy in the first team. And we also have under 18 teams. Okay. Each team, that is, they have many teams. Men's first team, men's second team, women's first team, women's second team, all of this. Each team has a manager. They will have their own set of coaching staff as well as support staff. Now, this is for you to understand how the club is structured. Just like, let's say, a company will have the CEO, the many executive and non-executive directors. They will have their divisional heads, functional heads. Similarly, this is how their organization structure is made. And if you look at professional clubs and academies, so this is something different. We have discussed about professional teams. So many teams will have their own professional clubs and also academies. 5 professional clubs have their own academies. Okay. If there are football fans here, you would be familiar, right? Barcelona has their own La Masia Academy. Real Madrid has their own academy. Where this academy will nurture football players from a very young age. 11, 12 years, children start playing in the academy. Okay, so their purpose is to nurture from a very young age. But in the case, the academies recruit from age of 9 and upwards, very young. My goodness, age of 9 means in Sri Lanka, we were in schooling, we were in somewhere in grade 4. Okay, so this is the focus given by this, by this sport. So out of the many clubs, only 5 clubs have their own academies. And what does the academy do? They recruit football talents from the age of 9 and upwards. The aim is nurturing from a very young age so that they can produce first team players. Training from a very young age so that they can be experts, suitable for the first team. So they have enough time to provide more focus, guidance, and time on developing this sport. The remaining clubs, besides these 5 clubs, the remaining clubs do not have any academies. Okay. So the other clubs, the other professional clubs who do not have academies, the other clubs that do not have academies, so they don't have academies. So in other clubs, they will have their own under 18 first team, second team, under 18, right? So they start from the under 18 age. Okay. So the benefit of academies is where academies will have players having trained for a longer time than non-academies, from an age of minimum 9 upwards. First team players. First team players are the main players of a club we discussed. So a club will have members from the first team. From where do they get these players? They might get from the same club. We discussed from academies, they can be promoted to first team, or else they can promote from under 18, under 18 to second team to the first team. So from the same club, they can be promoted, or they can also transfer from another clubs. These professional clubs buy players and also sell players, so they can transfer from another clubs. If transferred, they are bought by the football club, normally at a higher price. A club will be willing to sell their players if the player's performance is not bad, or else the other club provided a very high price. So what drives profit? Yes, when selling football players also we make profit, but the main source of profit is the performance in the Thailand Football League and international competitions. Okay. So if you look at the current scenario, I'm just giving you some information telling that the actual scenario and the case scenario might be different. So if you look at the current actual scenario, we have many leagues. We have Champions League, we have the Premier League, we have different championships going on. The FA Cup. So forget about all of those. I told you always you can use actual scenario to understand the case, but do not bring actual facts to the case. So here they are speaking about Thailand Football League. So Thailand is the country, so it's the country football competition as well as international competitions. So a company will make profit based on their performance in these competitions. Later, there's a section where we discuss how the company gains profit from these competitions, right? So this gives you an overview of the football club's organizational structure, the constitution, as well as what they do. Now let's start with the Thailand Football League. I'll call it as KFL. Okay. Men's first team has 3 divisions. Each division has 18 teams. The men's first team, that's the main team. They have 3 divisions. Each division has 18 teams. So 3 divisions has 54 teams. The league season period is starting from August, ends in May. So it goes for 10 months, my goodness. So it's fixed as a standard, August to May. 2 teams compete against each other twice in each season. So if you look at these divisions, there are 18 in one division, right? So each team, within these 18 teams, 2 teams will meet twice. One each at each team's home stadium. Okay. We call them the home game and the away game. So home and away. Right. This case was really interesting. So because after reading this, even I started to personally as a hobby, I just checked about the actual football situation. It's pretty interesting. So for example, what does this mean? Each at each team's home stadium. For example, let's say in Sri Lanka, let's say there's a district-wise teams. For example, a team from Colombo, a team from Gampaha. Okay, 2 teams, Colombo team and Gampaha team. So what happens is there are 2 competitions between these 2 teams. One competition will be the home stadium of Colombo, somewhere in Colombo. The other competition will be at the home stadium of Gampaha. Okay. So if it is at their own home ground, that's called the home game. If it is in the competitor's home ground, that is the away game. Right? And in terms of points, if they win a competition, the club gets 3 points. If it is a draw, 1 point, lose, no points. Teams can be relegated. What does relegated mean? Where they are demoted. Just like employees get demoted to a lower level position, teams will also get demoted. So we know the structure, right? First team, second team. And here we also discussed under first team, 3 divisions. So you can get demoted to the lower division. What are 3 divisions? Division 1, Division 2, Division 3. Division 1 is the top. Division 2 is below that. Division 3 is the lower level competition. So a club in the Division 1 will be demoted to Division 2. That's relegation. A club in Division 2 gets relegated, gets demoted to Division 3. That is relegation. So how will this relegation done? Teams can be relegated due to end of season points. We discussed the points, right? Points come based on their competition winnings. If they win 3 points each match, draw 1 point, lose no points. So based on the end of season points, relegation might be decided. How? Two teams with the lowest points in Division 1 will be moved to Division 2. Two teams with the lowest points in Division 2 will be moved to Division 3. In each division, the two teams with the lowest points, lowest score will be demoted to the next division. On the other hand, there will be a promotion as well. Two teams with the highest points in Division 2 and 3 will be moved to Division 1 and 2. The top two teams in Division 2, they'll be promoted to Division 1. So they are replacing Division 1, the bottom two, Division 2, the top two. They replace each other. So this is how they keep on adjusting the division clubs. And also there can be relegation if there is serious breaches of KFL regulations. If there is some serious breaches of Thailand Football League's regulation, that will also lead to relegations. In reality, there are many instances. Match fixing, relegations. Serious violations, relegations. So if there's some serious breach in regulation, there will be relegations. Okay. So I hope you understand the facts. So see, you might get a similar case out of all the previous pre-scenes. This was the most different pre-scene because the structure is completely different. It's a sport. So that's the reason I want to take this, for you to understand that, okay, the information we learn can be provided in a different context. Incentives for teams of performance. All right. What are the motivational factors, the incentives? Based on your performance, you get incentives. If you are a winner of the division, the winner of the Division 1, the winner of the Division 2, and the winner of the Division 3. Each of them gets a trophy and a prize money. Teams promoted to upper division may, so when a club moves from Division 3 to Division 2, or from Division 2 to Division 1, so when they get promoted to upper divisions, they will get more sponsors. Keep in mind, the Division 1 is the main division. This is the most popular. So obviously, as a sponsor, you would want to sponsor for this top tier league because why? More fans are interested in the upper division. So when a team is getting promoted to divisions, the sponsorships they will get will also increase. And also increased income from television. Now see, these matches will be displayed in the TV, right? TV channels. And these TV channels, they also get their ratings, they get their audience by broadcasting the competition. So these TV channels gets the broadcasting rights from the Thailand Football League. Okay. So all of this information is given in the pre-scene. So I'm just telling from my because I basically prepared this note. Right? So what I am discussing, it's all based in the pre-scene. Don't get scared when you don't see information given in here. So see, these TV channels they basically sign a contract with the league, the KFL, and a portion of their income will also be given to the KFL. So clubs that had performed will also get part of the income from the KFL. TV pays to KFL, KFL pays to the club. So all of them earn money. So when the company is ranked to an upper division, they will get more sponsorships as well as more income from television broadcast. The first team's popularity will gain global supporters. So if you take the global, so football is a sport where we have global supporters, global fans. So most of them are supporters are interested in the first team, less in the second team, less in the under 18 team, obviously. Okay, Think about you, as many of you are fans of cricket. So what are you more interested in? The national team, or else are you interested in the younger teams? No, right? It's basically the main team. Similarly, the higher popularity is on the first team. Now let's look at the competitions. We discussed earlier that main what drives profit is their competition and performance in the Thailand Football League as well as the international competitions. Now let's look at the competitions. Competitions, there can be the domestic cup, which is the Thailand Football League. The format is knockout matches between randomly selected clubs. If it's the domestic cup, there are amongst the club, the competition is held in a knockout match. If you lose, you're out of the league. But when it comes to international matches, the top 3 teams in Division 1 will play in the Wokian International League. Now we discussed that in the Thailand Football League. Thailand is the country, this is the domestic league. There are 3 divisions where each division has 18 teams, total of 54 teams. Okay. So if you look at the international matches, the top 3 teams in Division 1 in the Thailand Football League, they will be elected to play in the Wokian International League. What is Wokia? We discussed the term Wokia, the continent of Wokia. We discussed Wokia is the continent of Wokia. So the examiner will also give you a lot of hints based on the names. Domestic competition with the country's name. International competition with the continent's name. The top 3 divisions in Division 1 will play in the International League, the Wokian International League, WIL. So this Wokian International League will include the top 3 teams in the country's Division 1, along with most successful teams of other countries in Wokia. So Thailand is only one country. From Thailand, the top 3 teams in Division 1 will be selected for Wokian International League. And other countries will also have some, the other countries may have similar criteria. On top of that, if there are some powerful, successful clubs, they will also be part of the league automatically. Now, in the international league, what are the additional benefits? The additional benefits of clubs is comparing the domestic cup to the international matches, international club, from Thailand Football League to Wokian International League. The additional benefits of international matches is where we have more revenue from having more home games. Okay. At the home game, that is, what is home game? The club's home ground. You have more revenue. And also more revenue from having the international matches broadcast live on TV. The revenue you get by broadcasting domestic matches and the revenue you get from broadcasting international matches, international is at a higher scale, more coverage. So the revenue you get will also be high international matches. Okay. If you look at competition, women's competition, so far we were discussing about the men's competition. That's the mainstream. If you look at women's competition also, we have the women's first team, which is a professional club, not the recreational club. And they also have the Thailand Women's Football League. Earlier, Thailand's Football League was the men's. They have a similar Women's Football League, which is a domestic competition. This has 2 divisions. Thailand's Men's League has 3 divisions, 18 teams in each division. Women's League has 2 divisions, 18 teams in each division. And they also play in the domestic cup competition. On top of this, the women's first team will have a reserve team, which is the second team, and under 18 team. They have their own reserve and under 18 competitions. So both men's and women's have first team men's, women's, second team men's, women's, under 18 men's, women's. Right. So in the final exam, most of their focus was on the men's as the mainstream, right? Now let's look at the industry body. The Thailand Football League is governed by the Thailand Football Association, the KFA. This is the football association, which is like the overall, It's like board of directors, not for a company, it's for the whole country, the industry. KFA, the Kailan Football Association, what are their roles? What does the Kailan Football Association do? One is they enforce regulations. Example, things like fair play regulation. When it comes to these sports, there are many instances. There are instances of many violations, injuries, harmful, malicious injuries that can end football players. Career itself. There can be many issues. Match fixing. So these are all problems. So the fair play regulation is regulated by the Kailan Football Association. They also recommend clubs to follow corporate governance best practices. They recommend clubs with some recommended corporate governance practices. And they must comply, Kailan Football Association must comply with WOCIAN and World Football's governing bodies. Now, just because Kailan Football Association can monitor and regulate the domestic competition, they can't do whatever they want. They have to ensure that all of the activities must be in compliance with the WOCIAN and World Football's governing bodies. If they do something that is contrary, football players, clubs can easily sue the Football Association. Clubs' income and expenses. All right, now comes their main income and expenses. So far we were discussing many instances where we discussed that the main profit of a company comes from competitions. Now let's look at the breakdown. What are the main income and expense sources? Let's look at the income sources. Professional clubs, they will earn a lot of income from prize money from end of season. End of season, the clubs are ranked in each of the division. So they get a pay based on their rank in the league, Kailan Football League. On top of that, they get prize money from winning matches. In every match they win, whether it's the domestic cup or the international league, every match they win, they also get prize money. Okay. Yeah. Just like in cricket, at the end of each match, you get the man of the match, and sometimes they get a team prize, right? Similarly here, the team gets the prize. The winning team gets the prize at the end of each match, whether it's a local or international competition. The next income source, ticket sales. So this is what's really important. Okay. Earlier we discussed additional clubs of clubs, more revenue from having more home games. So when the match is played at home means the club's own ground. The club's own ground. They will have more revenue. One of those main sources comes from ticket sales. You are having the match at your home ground. So who will sell tickets? You are selling tickets. The more tickets you sell, you'll get all of this money. Tickets are sold for individual matches and all matches at a club stadium. So when it comes to ticket sales, just like for example, if you look at train travel or as bus travel, we basically buy tickets per travel, or else we have season tickets, right? A season is valid for a month. Similarly here, ticket sales are sold for matches. The buyers can buy ticket for a single match, or else they can buy a ticket where you can see all the matches at a specific ground, a stadium. We call it season tickets. Okay. Same term, season. So this is how the club earns money from tickets, as well as they sell two types of tickets, individual tickets and season tickets. Other match day income. On the day of the match, they will also have other income sources. One is by selling refreshments, they earn money. And also they will have boxes. Okay. They will have boxes where it has better facilities, where they sell for a very high ticket price. And next is transfer fee. So we also discussed earlier where clubs recruit players to the first team by purchasing. Similarly, clubs can also sell. So when they sell players to another club, they also get a transfer fee. Right? On top of this, they will also have many other sources of income. One is through advertising and commercial sponsorships. Once a club becomes popular, when a club goes to first division, the club will start getting attention. So they can attract sponsors to advertise around the club stadiums. They will get sponsors where companies will be willing to name brand their company name on the player t-shirts. So if you look at actual sports clubs, text here. Dushyant has asked a question. Isn't that ticket sales goes to person who conducts the league? In the case, Dushyant, they have not specified the breakdown, but in reality, there's a share. A share out of the ticket revenue, a share goes to the league, a share goes to the home stadium. Okay, that's why clubs are very interested in the number of audience. But here they have stated that at home stadium, they get ticket revenue. Do they get 100% of the revenue or do they get only 50%, 60%? They have not specified. But your question is valid. However, the examiner has not given us the breakdown. So, but we can have a, what do you call that? So we can have an understanding, right? When there's more audience, we sell more tickets. More tickets are sold, the company earns more. How much do they earn? We do not know. Okay, very valid. And for students who are, who have not watched football, see, when it comes to branding, people earn a lot. For example, let's say, all right, for example, I missed it out. So we look at this particular image on, okay, Cristiano from Real Madrid. So you can see the brand, the company brands are there, Fly Emirates. Okay. So see, companies typically spend money so that they are branded in the merchandise as well as in specifically on t-shirts. So this is something common, right? Even in cricket, see all of these t-shirts. Okay. So I'm, recently I have not watched cricket for the last, I don't know, 7-8 years. But the last I remember, Sri Lankan cricket branded was on dialogue, if I'm correct. That's how things are. So companies are also getting interest by investing money on getting their names branded. So when a company, when a club gets sort of quite an attraction, they will also be earning money from branding sponsorships. So one is on where sponsors spend money so that they can brand their advertisements in the stadium, near the grounds, around the grounds. Next is on t-shirts, using clubs brand or players brand in company marketing material. So this is something very common. Sports celebrities, Hollywood, Bollywood, movie celebrities, they basically, are in advertisements, are in branding. Okay. Drinks, Nike, Adidas, okay. So, and even many luxurious car brands. These companies also get players to start branding their company. So a portion of that is also earned by the club. Okay, a portion of the money earned by the player from branding is earned by the club also. Some clubs sell naming rights of their stadium to sponsors. So this is something very serious. Some clubs even sell, okay, their stadium, their ground name, that also can be sold to a sponsor. Okay. Now in Sri Lanka, if you look at these cricket grounds, there are grounds where the name is under particular celebrity. The name has been sold. I don't know how it operates here, but in football, each club will have their own ground. They can even sell the naming rights to the sponsors. And normally contract periods with sponsors would go for around 2 to 5 years, mostly. However, when it comes to naming rights, you can't just change the name for 2 years, 3 years, right? So for contracts for naming rights, it will be longer. But the others, advertisements, branding, and even, you know, advertising and branding for a company's brand, the normal time is 2 to 5 years. Professional clubs, that's the situation even in reality. Sales of club merchandise. Another income is from selling merchandise, official replica shirts. Okay. So you guys also do this, right? When you want to go to the ground to watch a cricket match, what do? You buy the Sri Lankan cricket jersey. So if that's an official shirt, replica shirt, that income goes to the what do you call it? Cricket Federation. Similarly here, official shirts printed, sold by the club, they earn the money. The club earns the money, right? So official replica shirts. However, there's a threat. What is the threat? People start selling fake shirts, imitations. So unauthorized retailers start producing similar fake shirts. Okay, and a buyer can be able to differentiate this because official shirts have some marks that displays genuine, but those are very minor marks. But when it comes to customers, many customers, they value the price as well. So a portion of their replica market, merchandise market, is stolen by unauthorized retailers. That's a threat. There can be other merchandise and also the sales channels. Merchandise sales channel. One is club shops. There are shops owned by the club, run by the club. Normally, these clubs are just nearby the club location, so they are not in different places. If their clubs are, the shops are situated next to the club's location, no. And other retail outlets, example, major stores in Thailand and foreign countries, and even in club website you can purchase online. So they are all telling that merchandise sales is also done through the club's website. And keep in mind, when it comes to presence in the internet, sales can be international sales as well. Hosting other events in club stadium. Now, the company can also earn money by also hosting other events in the club stadium. Even though the stadium is owned by the football club, it is for the purpose of running football competitions. This club can can provide the stadium for other events. For example, we can rent the stadium for 1 or 2 days for other sports, for concerts, for conferences. Think about all of these musical conferences. It's on the ground at stadiums. This is also an additional source of revenue. Next is television broadcasting income. We discussed earlier, the TV, when they broadcast a match, the club also earns money. How does this happen? There's a contract negotiated between the TV and the representatives of the Thailand Football League. So in this contract, the TV channel gets the rights to showing off the competition. We also have experienced this, but we have never thought, right? When it comes to cricket competitions, when it comes to Olympics, certain channels get the right to broadcast. So how do they get? They negotiate a contract with the relevant association. So here TV representatives will negotiate a contract with the Thailand Football League and sign off a contract. So for this, the TV channel will pay the Thailand Football League. And all clubs in Thailand Football League are bound by the same contract. The clubs receive an agreed amount of income each season. The TV channel pays the KFL and the clubs receive an agreed amount of income each season. Extra income will be obtained depending on the appearance in matches live on TV. Now see, let's say there are 18 clubs in each division. The club that is promoted to the finals and the club that gets out earlier, their presence in the competition is different, right? The club that gets out quickly, they have less presence. The club that goes to finals, they have the more presence. So based on their presence, they will get extra income. Division 1 clubs get better pay than lower divisions. Division 1 is the main division. Clubs get better pay than Division 2. Division 2 gets better pay than Division 3. Right? So students, do not memorize this. This is for you to create a mind map. First time you read this, you might feel a lot of information. You keep on reading this once, twice, thrice, 5 times, 6 times, and get familiar with the info. So in the final exam, when you see a related task and exhibit, when you're reading the exhibit, you will see, okay, there was some information that was in the precinct linked to that. So you read, you do this as to the extent you get familiar. And final income is television channels. Clubs can have their own TV channel. So when we look at the actual world, clubs will have their own newspapers. My goodness, these professional clubs overseas in Europe, they have their own newspapers, and their own newspapers basically tell good things about the club, bad things about the competitors. So here we are telling the clubs will have their own TV channel. So the money earned by the TV channel will be belonging to the club. They get money from subscription income, just like you subscribe for Netflix. Here you subscribe for competitions. And advertising income. When companies want to advertise, the clubs get money because it's their own TV channel. So if you look at their main income sources, from competition, you get prize money, ticket sales, other match day income, and transfer fee. And when you get income from advertising and sponsorships, sales of merchandise, hosting other events, renting out the stadium, television broadcasting income, as well as if they own their TV channel, you also have their own income source. So these are the main income sources. In terms of expenses, we have some common expenses: employee salary and benefits, amortization cost, transfer fee capitalized and amortized on a straight line basis over the contract period, stadium and facilities, running cost, you have to keep on maintaining the stadium, facilities, depreciation of property, plant and equipment, match day cost. On the day of the match, you earn income, right? Refreshment income. But also there are expenses. You have to produce refreshments, catering costs, and especially security. This is something really, really, really serious. You know, when it comes to football, fans are too engrossed. There are situations where there are some serious fights. So to ensure that security is prevailed, make sure that security of players are ensured, and also ensure that the audience, the fans, are also not in conflict. They will employ security. In real world, you know, I had a check later on. When it comes to certain matches, club matches, the clubs might the club of the home ground, they might get 200 to 300 security personnel. 200 to 300 to ensure that security is maintained. This security can include police as well as the own club's personal security stewards. And if they're running their own TV channels, they will have the running cost and any other normal finance costs. Pretty interesting, right? Next is financial fair play regulations. We discussed that financial fair play regulation is managed by or regulated by the Thailand Football Association. So let's look at the purpose of the financial fair play regulations. Aim is to stop professional football clubs from spending more than they earn. So there are many small-time clubs where they were unable to manage their profitability, liquidity, and they go bankrupt. Yes, you have to spend money on players' training, spend money on their salary, spend money on facilities. And obviously, you also earn money. But the problem is, at a very small scale, these clubs will have continuous losses throughout. They spend more than they earn. And eventually, the club will not be able to run. They close down the club or sell the club. So this basically affects part of the professional players. And also, it's a loss to the overall industry. So financial fair play regulation is to is one of their main aims is to ensure that this does not happen. Okay. So this is applying to their profits, earnings. What is the club's earnings? Income minus expenses. Now see, the financial fair play regulation can't just get involved when a company has a loss. They only get involved when a club has serious losses for a long time. So financial fair play regulation allows a club to have losses or excess relevant expenses or losses to a maximum of 5 million over a 3-year period. So the financial fair play regulation will not get involved unless this happens. Over 3-year period, over a 3-year continuous period, the cumulative loss should not exceed 5 million. The cumulative loss should not exceed 5 million. For example, they also had given an example. Already something like this. So what's really important is this. For example, say what is REL? It should be retained earnings. Okay, keep in mind this is the earnings, right? Year 1, the profit is 25. Year 2, 20 minus 20. It's a loss. Year 2, it's a loss. Year 3, a 17 profit. Year 4, a loss of 1 million. Year 5, loss of 2 million. Year 6, loss of 4 million. So if you take year 1 to year 3, year 1 to year 3, okay. So we discussed the condition is maximum 5 million cumulative loss over 3 years. So let's take 3 years. Year 1 to 3 is one set of years. So year 1 to year 3. What is the cumulative profit? 25 minus 20 and 70. It's a profit of 22. So are the regulations breached? Not breached. Next, we can take year 2, year 3, year 4. Over 3 years, right? 3 years, year 2 to year 4. What is their total loss? 4 minus 20 plus 17 minus 1, 4. Maximum 5 million is allowed. So here, regulations are not breached. They will know the financial fair play regulations are not breached. The association will not get involved. Next, year 3 to year 5. Cumulative is 17 minus 1 minus 2. Profit of 14, not breached. Finally, year 4 to year 6. The total cumulative loss is minus 1, minus 2, minus 4. Minus 7. So this has exceeded a loss of 5 million. So it is exceeded a loss of 5 million. So it is a breach. So here in the 6th year, they have breached the financial the fair play regulations, and then the association will come and get involved, telling that okay, 4, 5, 6 year cumulative loss is more than 5 million, 7 million loss. So now you have breached the contract, right? So that's what this means. And this diagram also was given in the case. So where is it? So here, they also have given this specific information. So don't get worried. If you come across an industry where you do not have any idea, do not get worried. Whatever you want to know, it's given in the case. Right? Good. What are the concerns? In the financial fair play regulation, the concerns are relevant income has to be considered. So what do we take? We look at the cumulative loss, right? Income minus expenses. When looking at income, things like profit on disposal of tangible non-current assets. Now see, just because we have companies can start manipulating their financial statements by these aspects. If they feel like, okay, our losses are exceeding, they can sell their non-current assets for a profit. But that's not a sustainable source. This is a valid concern. Profit on sales of these players. When a company is about to make a loss, they sell players. Selling players is fine, but that can't be done just because the company is going to have a loss. It's not sustainable. These are not problems, but these are concerns, sustainable concerns. And when it comes to relevant expenses, amortization can be handled by the company, can be reduced by a company. Loss of disposal of tangible current assets, loss on sales of players. So these are situations that can bring concerns to a company's loss or the net relevant earnings. Now, what would happen if this condition is breached? What would happen if a club has more than 5 million loss over 3 years? So they will be penalized. What are the penalties of the breach? One is if a club has more than 5 million loss, they will be fined. My goodness, we have a loss, now we will also be fined. So fine is a deterrent, so that companies will not ignore their losses. Many clubs are owned by rich people in reality. So to be honest, they ignore these losses. Why? They own the club because they love the sport, but still that's not sustainable. So here we don't think about who owns. Here this is a condition. If you're having losses, if you ignore this, you will be fined by the financial fair play regulations. And you can even lose points. Losing points means you will be relegated below. Loss of prize money in the league. That's one of the income sources. And you might not be able to participate in the Highland Domestic Cup or even in the Walk-in International League. You might be even removed from this competition and relegate to lower divisions. Serious breaches. Loss of points can also lead to relegation. If it is a serious breach, you can, even if you have points, you might be relegated to lower divisions. The example, that's the exception which I showed. So see these, so this is the involvement of the financial fair play regulations. This is for the betterment of the club. Next is media coverage. Division 1 Highland Football League, they have many games. Okay, we discussed that the normal league goes for 10 months. These competitions are broadcast live on TV. We discussed that the TV will have broadcasting rights by contracting with the Highland Football League. It's broadcast live on TV. Highland's newspapers will also provide media coverage and also social media. Newspapers are more enthusiastic to obtain exclusive news on clubs and players. You know, newspapers hype a lot before the competition, beginning of the competition, end of the competition. They get interviews, they get information, and they start hyping up a lot. So there are newspapers specific in overseas, specifically in reality, we have sports newspapers dedicated for football. This is their main source of income because they know there are a large amount of fan bases. So newspapers are enthusiastic, very enthusiastic. There can be exclusive newspapers only for football. So the media coverage. Industry challenges men's division 1 to be successful. The team to perform well. So for the men's division 1, for them to be successful, what do they need? The team should be performing well in the domestic competition and get selected to perform in the walk-in league. Remember, we discussed earlier how can you get selected for the walk-in competition? How can you get selected to walk-in competition? The top 3 teams in Division 1 will play in the walk-in league. So obviously you have to play well in the domestic league and be selected to the top 3 ranks. Okay, so for you to perform in the international league, you have to perform well in domestic competition and ensure you are in the top 3 in Division 1. So during this process, there will be significant expense in buying the best players with high salaries demanded. So for you to perform well, you need to have a very good Division 1 team. For this, you might have to, many clubs keep on buying players. So if you look at a player like Cristiano Ronaldo, he had been in many clubs, from Juventus to Real Madrid to Manchester United. I don't know, keep on buying. Clubs keep on selling and buying. Very rare, very rarely, we have football players in one club throughout their life. There are, but very rarely. Right? Next, so for a company to make sure that they face this industrial challenge, one of their major challenges, they'll have to spend money on buy the best players. And ensuring income is more than expense is actually difficult. Ensuring income is more than expense is actually difficult. I'll tell you something practical. Now, these things which I bring outside the case is for you to really understand. That do not memorize these facts. You need to understand what's going on. So, if you look at Arsenal Football Club, there was a time where the club had financial difficulties. So for them to run the club, their main source of income is selling players. They get players, train players, and when there are financial difficulties, they sell the players. So they are managing their financial difficulty, but they're also disposing their best players. So a serious thing. Many leading clubs recently have declining operating profits, mainly due to higher costs related to players. Okay. Sometimes players, there are high costs led to players. In the case, they have not discussed what are these higher costs. But, as a lecturer, my duty is to explain you so that you understand these points. So these additional explanations are for you to understand, but do not discuss this in the exam. So in reality, when it comes to star players, when signing the contract with the player would also demand many facilities. They will demand their own nutritionist. So the club will have to get a nutritionist exclusive for this player, the person's own nutritionist, the person's own physical coach, the person's own doctor. There are many instances where star players demand, I need you to get me my own nutritionist, where the nutritionist prepares the food. Physical coach conditions their body. Doctor checks their body. Many of these costs are typically paid by the club. But for less popular people, they won't provide this service. So for them to perform, they need to get the best players, and best players obviously ask for higher expenses, and they'll obviously ask higher salary as well. Risks and threats. So those are the income and expenses as well as the challenges. Now let's look at some of the risks and threats faced by clubs in kind. Poor performance in Division 1 team. When their performance is poor, what happens? Less people attend the match. Less people attend the match means less ticket revenue and less prize money. Competitions for resources. Other clubs also compete for players. So everyone wants the best player. And not everyone gets. Only a handful of clubs are able to get their wanted players. The rest will not have those players. Other clubs compete for players. Coaching and management staff, sponsors, supporters, prize money. So there is competition for all of these resources. Okay. Clubs, they always want to get the best player. They always want to get the best coach. Every club wants, but this is a competition. Commercial sponsors not renewing contracts, another risk. You have a sponsor, you are happy, but they might not renew the contract next year. They find a better club, which they feel is better than. If your performance is low, they will go to a better club. Departure of players and staff to other clubs. The club is losing players, losing staff. Players can go out of the club at the end of their contract. And normal contracts are around maximum 5 years. 2 to 5 years, 3 to 5 years. That's what happens. So once the period ends, if the player wants, they might not renew the contract. The player leaves. When the player leaves, the club earns nothing. If it is during the contract, the club can sell the player. End of the contract, the club will get nothing. And the company loses money from selling, from able to sell the player, and the company loses a talent as well. It's not only players, it can also be staff. Loss of key players. Players can also encounter injury, serious injury. So you might have to pay salary to the player. Normally, in reality, players get a weekly salary. So this is in a contract. We sign a 3-year contract with a fixed weekly salary. And let's say after 1 year, the player got injured, can't play, but still the salary has to be paid. And we don't have, the player cannot participate in competitions. That's also a risk. Fall in income from TV contracts. From TV contracts, we discussed clubs earn money, but the income from TV contracts can reduce due to the threat of reducing appealing of football. Now we have many sports, right? We have American football, which is rugger. Different types of rugger, right? We have this rugger where we play American football, where they have this helmet and play rugger, and we have the normal rugger. We have cricket. Okay, so there are people lose interest in football, and they might switch to other sports. Just like I lost interest in cricket. No, it's been years since I watched cricket. I don't know who are the players in the current team as lost interest, reducing appeal. So once appeal is reduced, TVs might not be willing to pay high money, and they might even switch to other sports. And the presence of illegal live streaming. So this is a common threat. If you look at movies, my goodness, sometimes when it comes to overseas movies, you see a copy of the movie released on the internet before the movie is launched in the country. And people can, rather than going to the theater, you can go to the internet and watch a copy of the movie. Similarly, illegal live streaming can affect the TV's income, where people would not subscribe to the TV channel. They would rather access and log into these live streaming platforms. So see, TV channels, if they are not earning sufficient income, if they're not getting sufficient subscribers, they might be reluctant to renew, or they might be reluctant to pay a high money for this. There can be threats to income from sponsorships, other sports being more popular from football, or football fans diverting to other sports. Entertainment events focus diverting. There can be other entertainment events where people get diverted and lose interest in football. And alternate forms of corporate hospitality. Breaching financial fair play regulations. We discuss about penalties. That's also a threat. We discuss many penalties, from fines, from reduction in points, from relegation, and from not being able to play in the competitions. That's also a threat. Damage to club brand. This is also a serious threat. The club's brand can be damaged. I'm not sure, I can't remember. There was a scenario, there was an actual situation where a club in a lower league, a couple of years ago, due to some of the personnel involved in match fixing, the club was relegated to a very low league. And after the match fixing, the club was relegated. The people involved in the match fixing were removed, were sacked. And the new management, they also had problems. Why? People were now thinking bad about the club. Club's brand is already damaged. So even though people involved are no longer there, the reputation is still affected. Negative media coverage of players' personal lives. This is one problem. So when it comes to movies, we have paparazzis, right? Similarly here, there are also paparazzis. Where media would try to get involved in players' personal lives, and also that can harm the player. Okay. Health and safety risks. Players and other employees also. Security risks from supporters' poor behavior. Supporters may fight, supporters may, you must have seen, right, even in cricket, especially somewhere in India, countries like India, not now. When I was schooling, I have observed situations where when the team loses a match, there are situations where people try to burn their property. So see, in football, it can be a bit more severe. They will not burn their home, but players will have problems getting out of the stadium. So security risks. That's why clubs will have to spend money on hiring security. And financial risks, interest rate, exchange, liquidity, solvency risks. So see, a club is ideally a business, so they also have to ensure that they have sufficient money. So most of their cash in hand will be invested in securities. So and there is interest rate risk, liquidity risk, solvency risk. And see, it's a global sport. They buy and sell sport, they buy and sell players internationally. So they are also faced with exchange rate risk. So that's all about the main situation of the sport. Now we'll be looking at the stakeholders. If you look at internal stakeholders, we have shareholders. Normally, shareholders are taken as connected stakeholders. In a company, shareholders are connected stakeholders. Why? I and you can buy shares of a company, and we will not get involved in the management. So we are connected. But in football clubs, the party that buys shares, most of the times they get involved in managing the club. The party that buys share, the party that owns the company, they will get involved in managing the club. So they are internal shareholders. See, be careful of the context. Directors, players are obviously internal stakeholders. Team managers, coaching staff, other employees, all of the full-time employees. Shareholders in a football club are also internal stakeholders. Now, do not generalize this. Always be careful of the context. Connected and external stakeholders, we have supporters, retail customers, TV broadcasters, sponsors, merchandise sellers, the police, security, emergency services, the Highland Football League, Football Association, all of these are connected to external stakeholders. Right. Next is the leading teams in the country of Highland. Right. So if we look at the, okay, what's going on here? Hold on. Get rid of these marks. So this is a screenshot of the case. Oh, finally, good. So if you look at the leading teams in Kylan, we discussed in men's team, there are 3 divisions. Each division has 18 clubs, a total of 54 divisions. So here in Division 1, in the previous KFL season, 2002 and 2003, 2022-23, we have the leading team. So even though there are 18 teams in one club, they have given 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. They have given 8, the top 8 teams in the Division 1. 3, yes. Okay. And who are we? We are AT, Athletic Trans Central. Oops. We are Athletic Trans Central. So we are in the top 8. Position in the league: 2001 to 2002 to 2003. If you look at our position, Athletic Trans Central's position, 2001 we were the 5th in Division 1. 2002 6th. 2003 8th. So our ranking has declined. Remember at the start we discussed, the first thing in the intro we discussed, we had successes in the past, but we are struggling at present. Now we have data related to this. Performance ranking has declined from 5 to 8 over 3 years. And stadium capacity is 38,000. My goodness, out of the top 8, the highest capacity is by Maritime Montimo. They have a 73,000 stadium capacity. What does this mean? 73,000 seats in the stadium. So our capacity is around half of that. We discussed the larger the stadium capacity, we could sell more, earn more money from ticket sales. If they ask us recommendations to increase revenue, this can be one of those. Revenue in 2002 2003, excluding player trading, we discussed many sources of revenue: competition income, TV channels, selling players, renting out stadiums. We discussed a lot of revenue, sponsors. So revenue excluding player trading, the revenue excluding selling players, our revenue is 342, and the previous 7 clubs have a revenue better than us. And you still can see, right? So this current ranking is based on the current what do you call it? This order is based on the current ranking. We who are number 8 has a 342 sales revenue. The club rank 6 has 354. The club rank 7 has a revenue higher than club rank 6. We do not know the reason, but one of the reasons that we can see is higher stadium capacity. The club rank 6 has 43,000 stadium capacity. Rank 7 has 60,000 stadium capacity. Remember we discussed stadium capacity affects the ticket revenue. So these are some observations. Okay, let's move on. So 80 has the lowest stadium capacity amongst top 8, affects the revenue we discussed. And our performance has been declining over the past 3 years, which is the major challenge. Innovation and sustainability. At present, there's a high tendency to use digital media more. It enhances income and interest. Makes sense. Clubs use own website and social media platforms. Very needed. The club uses their own website and social media platforms for what? They post news and updates on the club, on the players, and also any news of interest to supporters. Remember, we discussed Mendelow's matrix, types of stakeholders. Keep informed. How do they keep informed? Through websites, through social media, we keep informed. So if there are people of what, who are the stakeholders we keep informed? High level of interest, low level of power. Individual fans, low level of power, but high level of interest. They love the match. They love the club. So if there are any new players, we update. If they are selling players, we update. If we win competition, we update. So we keep them informed through the digital platform, website, social media. Top 4 teams or clubs in Division 1 in 2002-2003. 2002-2003, that is this year, last season. Top 4 teams, 1 to 4. So from Maritime Montimo, 1920 to Leuven, Orient Wickborg, and Spring Luxembourg. My goodness, I don't know what these names are. Okay, all of these are fake names. Okay. The top 4 teams. The top 4 teams own TV channels. All right. So earlier we discussed many clubs have their own TV channels. So they have related expenses as well as income. So out of this Division 1, the top 4 teams, they have their own TV channels. Their supporters pay subscription. These TV channels are available on club's website and other popular platforms. Okay. Next is KPIs, key performance indicators. What are key performance indicators? You should be aware. We always link KPIs with CSFs, critical success factors. A company will have their own corporate objective. And to achieve corporate objective, the company must focus on critical success factors, which are critically important to achieving objectives. And KPIs are indicators of achieving critical success factors. So there are many KPIs. Financial KPIs, non-financial KPIs. Financial KPIs such as revenue, player salaries, earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, amortization, relevant earnings for the financial fair play regulations, very important. If our relevant earnings go below 5 million, that we are doomed. What happens below 5 million? We might even lose the ability to play the competition. Cash flows of the company, player sales, player purchases, which is important for club performance in matches, and capital expenses, investment in stadium, investment in training facilities. Non-financial, league position of men's first team and other teams. Average match attendance, obviously league position is important. If our league position is good, we might even get promoted to the relegated to the upper division. Average match attendance as a percentage of stadium capacity, number of season ticket holders, club website hits, how many fans keep on visiting our website, and compliance with applicable regulations. If you do not comply with regulations, that there can be serious breaches leading to relegation to below divisions. Right. Student, give a couple more minutes. There is a call for prayer. Let's meet up in 2 minutes. Small break. Do not leave. Stay here. All right. Coming back, so we had looked at the KPIs of a football club, any club. Now comes an overview of our company. Our company, that is the AT company, which was founded purely to manage the AT club, was founded in 1895. The men's first team started playing in the league in 1907. And when it comes to controlling interest, the Clicom company has a stake for many years. Remember, we discussed shareholders are taken as internal stakeholders. See, basically, when a family or a company owns, they're involved in the management. Clipcom company has a stake in the AT club or AT company for many years. And our company is not listed in the Thailand Stock Exchange. So there are no public shareholders. Color code uniform, white shirts, black sleeves, black shorts and socks. This is just for understanding the company. If you look at teams, we have men's and women's Division 1, Division 2, as well as under 18 team. Men's Division 1 KFL. So we have been there for the last 60 years, starting from 1907. For the last 60 years, we were in Division 1. Okay. We discussed there are 3 divisions, Division 1, 2, 3. So in Division 1, they have been there for the last 6 decades. They have won the KFL championship 6 times, won domestic cup competition 5 times. And they have a strong supporter base. Obviously, we see that this club has a history. So they have a strong fan base, supporter base with its success. But in the last 15 years, these are the problems. There has been no championship in KFL and domestic. In the last 60 years, they were able to get 6 KFL championship and 5 domestic championship. But last 15 years, no. That means out of 60 years, 15 years. So during the 45 years, they were able to obtain 11 cups. But in the last 15 years, no cups, no KFL championship, no domestic championship. So you can see there's a big problem in the performance. Even though the company is in the Division 1 top 8. And they are not qualified for the Wokian International League in last 8 years. You know who is selected for the Wokian League. The top 3 teams in Division 1. That means in the last 8 years, they were not in the top 3. Before 8 years, they were part of the top 3. So keep in mind, last 3 years, rank 5, rank 6, rank 8. So their ranking performance has been declining. If you look at Women's Division 1, it was established just 25 years ago. And in the Thailand Women's Football League, last season, we were ranked 3, which is our highest performance ever. Our performance has improved in the Women's League. They have won the domestic cup competition last year. And the average attendance per game is 3,000. Average attendance per game is 3,000. What is our stadium size? AT stadium size is 38,000. Okay. Average attendance per game is, where is it? Oh my goodness, 3,000. Already here. Reserve teams, second team, as well as under 18 teams, average attendance is less than 1,000. It's not popular. We can't comment about this without knowing the date of the other clubs' attendance. Because see, reserve team, under 18 team, women team are not the main teams. But if they're given us the men's Division 1 attendance, we can compare with the club stadium capacity, which is 38,000, and then observe our attendance utilization. How many fans are buying tickets? Right, board structure. If you look at the board structure, there are non-executive directors with share, that's true. That means without the chairman, there are with the chairperson, it's 3. NEDs without chair, it's 2, right? NEDs with the chairperson, it's 3. So without the chairperson, there are only 2 non-executive directors. And there are 6 executive directors. Remember, we discussed corporate government regulation. NEDs without chairperson should be equal or greater than EDs. NEDs without chair is 2. EDs is 6. This is a problem. It's not a legal violation, but this is a problem in corporate governance. There will be problems in corporate governance. 6 executive directors, only 2 NEDs without the chair. So this is also given. Chairperson is an NED, but we usually, when looking at the corporate governance, we take numbers without him. 2 NEDs, only 2 non-executive directors without the chair. We have 6 EDs. CEO is an executive director, 1 football director, finance director, marketing, commercial administration. So if they had asked for weaknesses and areas of possible risks, this is one of the areas. And the CEO is a member of the Click-On family. Remember, Click-On family is having a stake in the company shares, controlling the Click-On family. And Click-On family is the CEO as well. Dushyant, it can be equal. Without the chairperson, it can be equal. So here there are 6 EDs, right? So without chair, there can be 6. With chair, it can be 7. So this is acceptable. There are no complaints. So CEO, member of Click-On family. Another reason, what do you call it? Example they have given to tell that shareholders are internal stakeholders. See, each function does their own recruitment and appraising its own staff. So we have many functions here: football, finance, marketing, commercial director, administration. 5 different functions. Each function recruits separately, and they appraise their employees separately. If you look at the committees, they only have audit committee. They only have audit committee. When we discuss corporate governance, we discuss many committees: risk committee, audit committee, remuneration committee, nomination committee. Only audit committee is given. So now we have doubts on how were these directors selected. Where is the nomination committee, remuneration committee? So they have not mentioned anything about that. They specifically said we only have audit committee. The board runs one committee, the audit committee. They are specifically said they have only one committee. Okay. The committee has 2 NEDs. So obviously we saw without the chairperson, we only have 2 non-executive directors. So the 2 of them are the only NEDs, and they also work in the audit committee. The roles: reviewing financial statements, accounting with financial internal control systems, liaising with external auditors. So internal controls comes on audit committee, but they are only looking at accounting and financial internal controls. What about other internal controls? What are internal controls? Things that you put to ensure that the processes are run properly without fraud, error, inefficiencies. So they are stated audit committee is involved in accounting and financial internal control systems. What about other internal control systems? Operating internal control systems, marketing internal controls. Not mentioned. So there's a possibility of limiting the scope of the audit committee's role. Information systems, adequate for its purposes. They have stated the information system is adequate for its needs. Database of season ticket holders and customers buying official replica kits online. The club is able to acquire the database of ticket buyers, season ticket buyers. So they are very loyal fans. They buy the whole set of tickets of their ground in the competition. And customers buying official replica kits online. So we have the database. What are the database? Name, contact information, and financial details. They have stated financial details, but we do not know what's relevant. What financial detail we have? Okay. Is it their wealth? Is it the bank account? Is it the occupation? They have not provided what financial detail, but in general financial detail. So we'll have to go with the information they have given. AT has its own website. AT has its own website, own app, and it has accounts on long-established social media platforms, telling that AT has presence in the digital platform. Stadium. We discussed that our stadium, out of the top 8, ours has the lowest capacity. Out of the top 8 stadiums, ours has the lowest capacity of 38,000. Now let's look at what they are telling about the stadium. Built 90 years ago. My goodness. Location is center of the city. Good location. Center of the city means we will be able to attract more customers. No other Division 1 teams play in this city. All right. So in this city, if there is any major competition, they don't have any other option. 3 Division 1 teams are located within 40 kilometers of AT Stadium. So 40 kilometers is a short distance. So if you look at within 40 centimeter radius, there are 3 Division 1 teams. Okay. They have not mentioned whether these three teams have their clubs. So we cannot assume on that unless they have provided any information. Okay, but they have stated only yes. Average attendance. 80 is KFL Division 1. Okay, right. Now look at the attendance. 2023, 22, 23, our average attendance is 96.5%. Out of 38,000 capacity, 30,000, right? Out of 38,000 capacity, on average match, the attendance is 96.5%, which is approximately 36,700. Normally, 96.5% is considered full capacity. So we can conclude that our stadium is fully occupied. 96.5% is considered full capacity. Think about a large amount of seats. There can be some small amount of seats, obviously empty. That's natural. So if it's 96.5%, that's considered full capacity. And in the last season, even though our performance has declined, keep in mind, we have not achieved championship over the last many years, over the last decade. And over the last 3 years, our ranking has declined. But still, we have full capacity. Division 1, the average is 96.3. In Division 1, there are 18 clubs. The average attendance is 96.3. And our attendance is more than the average. So this can provide us hints that when our performance has been declining, when we do not have any recent championships, still we have full capacity. It could be either fans still love us a lot, or it could be that there is more potential of sales. We could sell more. And we can sell more if we expanded our stadium. Makes sense, right? Top 8, we have the lowest capacity. If others can sell 60,000, if others have 60,000, 65,000 capacity, we only have 38,000. It's reasonable. We can at least sell 45,000. So this is an opportunity cost, possible opportunity cost. So if you're justifying this, you have to always link this information. No competitions, no championships, reduced performance, reduced ranking, but still full capacity, which is more than the average club's ticket utilization. So there is room for additional revenue if we can expand our stadium capacity. Very rational conclusion. Weakness and threats: limited car parking facilities. My goodness, this is a problem. If we have provided sufficient car parking facilities, fans who are not living nearby, they'll be willing to travel. Traffic congestion in local area on match days, another problem. Streets nearby become crowded and noisy when supporters come in and out of the stadium, which has annoyed the local residents. High stadium maintenance expenses since last 10 years. Okay. Age and strict health and safety. Okay. High stadium maintenance expenses since last 10 years. First one is age. Remember, stadium was built 90 years ago. It's high time, my goodness. Obviously, maintenance cost could increase. And they have strict health and safety requirements. Keeping in mind that the stadium has not, it was something that was originally made nine decades ago. And we have strict safety requirements. We have to spend more on maintenance. Long queues for stadiums, refreshment outlets, very inefficient. facilities it's insufficient for holding other events. We discussed a normal club has an additional revenue. What is that? Renting out the stadium for other events. See, hosting other events in club stadium is also one of the income sources. But our company, AT Club, they do not have this income source. They cannot, other outsiders are not willing to get our stadium for running their events. So that's an opportunity cost again. Keep in mind, that's it. Keep in mind, no other Division 1 team plays in this city. So if there is a requirement for a place by a company in this city, they don't have any other Division 1 clubs, Division 1 ground stadiums. So we can monopolize requirements within the city. But unfortunately, we do not have facilities for holding events. A possible opportunity cost. Facility is given, served by a frequent bus service. Oh, that's a good thing. For fans, if there is a direct bus that goes across our stadium. 2 train stations with regular train service. So if fans want to visit the stadium, they have bus service, train services, as well as for corporate clients, there are 30 hospitality boxes. Okay. AT owns a shop at stadium. We have club shops. Then we discussed merchandise can be sold at club shop. So at the stadium premises, they have their own club shop. AT owns the stadium land. The stadium land is under the ownership of AT. And this is important. AT owns the adjacent land. What does adjacent mean? The next land next to the AT stadium, there is a land which is owned by AT, but it is currently leased to the city council. It's not leased to an unknown part, it's leased to a city council. So here there are some challenges and benefits. If we are able to get that adjacent land, it helps with expansion of AT stadium, AT's facilities. A lot can be done with additional property, right? Next to the stadium, we can have dormitories for players. We can have expanded training space for players, expanded stadium. We can do a lot of things. We can establish a large club shop. But the problem is it's leased out to city council. So to ensure that relationships are well maintained, it will be a challenge to get back the leased property. You can't just tell them our contract is over, please dismantle, right? You have to maintain relationships. So there is both benefit and challenges. Training facilities, 14 kilometers from stadium. My goodness. See, when AT owns the land, which is right next to the stadium, their training facilities are 14 kilometers away, which was actually moved 30 years ago. If they could have used the adjacent land for its training facility, it's more efficient. It's also very helpful, convenient for players as well. Right. So this 14-kilometer distant training facility was actually moved 30 years ago, started 30 years ago, and it was upgraded 5 years ago. And it is regarded as one of the best in Kyle. So here they have invested capital expenses. They have invested sufficiently for its players. Division 1 and 2 always uses this. Under 18 sometimes have to use other facilities. The good thing is they have invested in the stadium and it is properly utilized by the players. Challenge is under 18 team, they don't have frequent access to this one of the best stadium training facilities. Commercial activities. Many sponsors, we discuss about sponsors, but no lead sponsor as of now. Lead sponsor is the main sponsor. As you can see, if you like cricket, we have Dialog, the main sponsor. Look at, we discussed earlier, Real Madrid, Emirates. So there's no lead sponsor as of now. Not having a main sponsor is a problem. If there is a lead sponsor, that means that company is very considers the club very promising, and it's typically long term. Sponsorships cover AT's kit, advertising within the stadium, use of AT's brand and players' identities. Normally, when it comes to sponsorships, where there are many sponsors, they cover AT's kit, the dress, advertising within the stadium. Within the stadium, they can have their billboards, branding within the stadium, and use of AT's brand and player identities in their products. Just like Lux has many celebrities, Airtel has many celebrities. They can use that here as well. Sponsorship, not sold any naming rights to stadium or other facilities. They have not sold the naming rights of the stadium to any company. AT sells official replica kits directly to supporters. AT sells official replica kits directly to supporters. There are 3 suppliers who produces the kits. These 3 suppliers produces all the kits, player kits, supporter replica kits, everything. Club shop at AT Stadium is owned by the AT. What do they sell? They sell official replica kits and also limited ranges of other clothing and accessories. Things like, let's say, Messi's boots, that particular brand, they can sell stuff like that. Online order. Only official replica kits are sold online. We discussed that they also sell through companies' websites, online order. Licenses the production of official replica kits to other suppliers. Enhance visibility worldwide. Now see, AT, now when it comes to selling to global buyers, they also license the production of these kits to other suppliers to enhance the worldwide visibility. So through licensing others, other suppliers will sell in other retail outlets. AT website extracts, they have given the mission and values. AT's mission is to maintain its position as one of the leading clubs in Kyle. So there is one problem here. There are 2 problems here. One concern is not specifically stated football. So they have not specifically stated, are they focusing on football alone, or they might diversify into other sports. That is another problem, that is, it's vague. AT's mission is to maintain its position as one of the leading clubs. One of the leading clubs, could it be belonging to Division 1? So if you are in Division 1, top 18, top 15, top 10, we do not know. That's very ambiguous. Okay. Too vague. Being vague is fine, but too vague. Values of AT, good. Transparency. What is transparency? Any activity done is not hidden, it's transparent. Safeguarding is so they have given safeguarding. So here are the descriptions. So AT recognizes its responsibility to protect the welfare of its young players and commits to practice which protects them. So it's about protecting only players. What about the coach? What about the staff? This is something that can be thought about. Community, players' conduct, stakeholders, and environment. So taking a look at this, we'll understand the values. What's the importance of values? A company's decisions will always ensure the values are protected. So all of the decisions will basically be in compliance with these values. So if the values are not protecting a certain stakeholder, that can be a risk factor. Financial information is given year ending 31st of May. FFPR regulation, we are safe now. So students, this previous Excel is an example. There are specific states is an example. This is not AT company's financial situation, right? It's an example, okay? This is not the actual situation of AT company. Okay, so when it comes to AT, as at now, we are safe. No negative relevant earnings. Revenue increasing last 3 years, but EBITDA is declining. Revenue has increased last 3 years, but EBITDA is declining. Right? So here, for you to understand why I came to this conclusion. We'll have to also refer to you have to also have to refer to this. So you can see that revenue has increased. Revenue has increased. EBITDA, earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization has declined. Your revenue increase means your profit should increase, but your operating expenses has drastically increased, causing your profit to decline. And relevant earnings for FFPR, financial fair play regulation. So we have positive earnings. If it's negative, it will go below zero. So last 3 years, even though the profit has declined, it's still positive. So we are not having big risks in violating the FFPR regulations. That's it. Right. Yes, Dushan due to increased cost, but they have not specifically mentioned what costs. But we can still come to some findings, right? One is maintenance cost of the stadium has increased drastically. That could be one thing, right? Right. So see, when it comes to revenue proportion, so here we can see revenue proportion, sponsorship, retail, television, match day, prize money. So what I did was I want to find the proportion. If you look at total revenue in the last season, it was 342. Out of that, the highest was TV, 127, which accounts for 37%. So one third of our revenue comes from TV income, TV broadcasting. Keep in mind, we do not own a channel. Only the top four clubs own channels. We do not own a channel, but just because we were in Division 1, one third of our revenue comes from this. Keep in mind, last 3 years, our performance has been declining. Rank 5, rank 6, rank 8. Still under rank 8, more than one third of the revenue comes from income TV. So, if we were able to increase our ranking, we will get more money from TV. That is an area of concern. The lowest income comes from prize money. Makes sense. We are ranked 8th, 10%. So see, keep in mind, when we win more competitions, our prize money will increase because we win more competitions, and the amount received from TV, the amount income from TV would also increase. And obviously, when our performance increase, sponsors would be willing to invest in us, and we might have more match day income. And another method of increasing match day income is, remember we discussed expanding stadium, increasing ticket sales, and retail. When a club is successful, we'll have more fans, we can sell more retail merchandise. So see, as you can see from this breakdown itself, we can easily find our revenue can be drastically increased when our company is performing well. And renovation of stadium. Declining of performance, declining EBITDA, we discussed, and how to address industry areas. So here, based on what we discussed so far, we identified several points. One is corporate governance. Board of director composition is questionable. EDs are 6, NEDs without chair is only 2. Committee, we only have audit committee. What about nomination, remuneration, risk? Recruitment done by said department themselves. So why don't we have an HR department? Or do we have 5 HR departments separately? It doesn't make sense having 5 HR departments, right? So there can be some room for inefficiencies. Next, should we open an academy? So these are things that we can develop. These are questions we can develop based on our readings. Should we open an academy? We discuss academies are also opened by only a few clubs. We discuss advantages. We can obtain better talents. Recruiting talents from the age of 9. We can develop better players. They can be talented first team players who can improve future sales, who can improve future performance, and we can also sell players. So those are the benefits of academies. Challenges, additional cost. Running an academy, additional academy has additional cost. We need more training space. And if you look at our training space, even under 18 team does not have, are not given time to train there. So it requires additional investment and running expenses. But the advantages are obvious as well. Should we have an own TV channel? That's another area. I don't know. Might not. But the problem is, if we have own TV channel, will there be subscribers? Our rank is low. If our rank is improved, then we can consider having our own TV channel. Should we refurbish the stadium? You know about, we had discussed about this. Should we refurbish the stadium? Stadium was created 90 years ago, and recently there is high maintenance cost. So refurbishing will cost, but this will reduce maintenance cost. And if you're able to expand the stadium size, we can increase the ticket revenue. How to train the women's team? How much resources should we allocate on women's team? Their recent performance has increased a lot. So it's rational to invest more on them. But the stadium attendance of women's team is only 3,000. So since the stadium attendance is low, the benefits brought by women's team, the income brought by women's team is to be discussed. It's not all about financial income. Sometimes, having a good ranked women's team will also positively affect the company, the club's reputation. Okay. Comment on competitive strategy. Checking with the organization mission, it's about differentiation. What's the organization's mission? To be one of the top clubs, right? Where is that? AD's mission is to maintain its position as one of the leading clubs. So it's all about achievements, leading. So it's all about differentiation. It's all about differentiation. Risks of not having won championship. We know what are the risks of not having won championship. Reputation decline on financially. Sponsors are declining. As at now, we don't have a lead sponsor. Sponsors might move to other clubs. Fans might dislike our club. We will not be able to attract famous players. Major problems. What can we do? We had discussed many things. Spending money. We have one of the best training facilities. Why not we spend money, purchase some better players? Why not we start an academy so that we can focus on, so that we can increase our future performance? Okay. And find any other bottlenecks. And as I usually tell my students, always keep these two models in mind. Strategic planning process and evaluation of strategic choices. Now, in the post scene, in the exam, if they give you facts on establishing an academy, should you recommend or not? Always look at SFA. Suitability, feasibility, acceptability. One is feasibility. Do we have the resources? Our profits have been declining over the years. Are we capable of establishing an academy? Can we take a bank loan? Can we raise funds? Run the academy. Do we have the space? Run the academy. That's feasibility. Okay. Acceptability. Will this be acceptable with the stakeholders, especially that particular family, the CEO's family? Suitability. Will this achieve objectives? Yes. Suitability is fine. Establishing academy, we'll be able to generate our own talents. Future performance, future competition will be more guaranteed. Suitability, yes. Feasibility, acceptability, we don't have sufficient information, but based on the current situation, feasibility is questionable, acceptability is totally fine. So any decision, students, I keep on, I must have reminded more than 10, 20 times in classes. Any decision, you have, whether to do it or not, you have to be more rational. Sometimes rationally you should do this, but we are not capable of doing this. So always evaluate using SFA. Okay, I'm reminding this every session normally in the last few days, because this is really, really important. In the post scene, if they are given a task and related exhibit, and the task is for you to advise. SFA is very helpful. And when you are to provide strategies, when you are to evaluate and recommend strategies, you can always follow the strategic planning process. The strategic choice has to be evaluated using an SFA model. Right, guys, with this comes the end of this pre-scene analysis. Now you understand, right? Even though the final case, the exam might not ask you on the details given in the pre-scene. The tasks information is given in the exhibit in the final exam, but you cannot ignore the pre-scene, because see, now you have proper understanding about the club's performance, club situation, club's presence in the competition, the club's challenges, the club's situation when it comes to the stadium, the club situation when it comes to its income sources. Cannot rent out the stadium for other events, do not have their own TVs, that do not have a lead sponsor. Now you understand the background of the company, the club. And the company is established solely for clubs, so they do not have any other additional revenue source. Yeah. So this is what's required for you to generate from pre-scene. So as usual, I always tell my students, once the pre-scene is released, I will not discuss with you unless you do your own analysis. So once the pre-scene is released, students, in this week, I want you to develop something like what I did. I know this document is very long, but see, once you prepare this document, no need to again refer to pre-scene. If you want, once you get familiar with this document, you can again minimize, reduce this content to 2 to 3 pages. You can do that. The main requirement is you should be able to familiarize with all the relevant information given. Good. I'll share this document with you on the WhatsApp group just after our class is over. So this is the practice you need to do. So once the pre-scene is released this week, I want you to do this. I want you to read. So next revision session, I will be discussing the pre-scene with you. At that point of time, I got a message here. At that point of time, next week, next revision session, I will be discussing the pre-scene with you. I want you to do your own analysis before we meet. So when I'm explaining, if there are points you disagree with me, we can discuss. If there are points you had not identified, you will find out. If there are points you had noted, but I did not discuss, you can question me. So this is where we discuss a lot, okay? Right, Safrin, can you explain presentation slide and speaker note answer format? Right, so yes, in the exam, you'll be given a word processor and a presentation slide. So if the requirement task is to be done on the presentation slide, the presentation slide is like your PowerPoint slide. Everything should be brief. It's like what you would display when you present it to a board. Everything should be brief. Do not explain. Okay, there is no specific format, but the point should be summarized, direct, and concise. In the speaker notes, you give elaborate explanation. Give me a minute. Let me see whether do I have anything that can help you with that. I must have shared this with you at the beginning of our session. If it comes to a presentation slide, see, as you can see, presentation slide, bullet points, summarize, don't make it crowded. Speak to the pointers. And in notes, you can give explanation. First bullet point, give the explanation. Second bullet point, give the explanation in detail. Okay, that's about the presentation slides. And when it comes to formats, to date from subject. This is the format used for emails, used for letters, used for memos, and even when it comes to reports, in report we don't write dear, but the rest is the same. See, report to from subject. You can also write the date, but sometimes date is written at the bottom. Same format, to from subject date. In a report, it's more formal. So you have an introductory para, main body, and a concluding para. That's it. Right.
So
Yeah.
the conclusion is not required, right? Unless the question specifically says.
In a standard report format, there should be a conclusion or summary. If there is no conclusion, a summary of what you had discussed. That's the standard, but it's not really essential. In the exam, most of the students ignore that because in the exam, who thinks about conclusions? So the examiner might not take it seriously, but if you have time, you can do a small ending summary. Okay.
Oh, okay, sir.
If the report is about analysis, in conclusion write the main findings. If the report is about advice, in the conclusion write your main suggestion, recommendation. Okay, so they are specifically asked, if asked for, provide recommendation if asked for, or else provide your summary of findings. Right, I had shared this, no problem, I'll share this document also again in the revision group as well as in our normal theory group. Any questions, students? So this is what you will be receiving in a couple more days in the pre-scene. And I want you to do an arrangement similar to this. No need to follow whatever I did. If you have a better familiar method, you can go with that. But I want this to be done in some form of manner. Do not always think, okay, sir will give us a file. Let me just read the file. Don't do that. I am familiar with how I write. You will be familiar with how you note down. And you don't it down by reading, right? So when you read and note down, you'll be able to easily capture what you are written. It's easy for that. Good. Any queries? Anything else?
I have a question.
Yes, Nimita.
So, like this pre-scene that we are going through, is it provided during the exam or do we have to like just go through it and
The pre-scene will also be given in the exam, but at that time you'll have some time concerns. So if you really see, obviously, I have very bad memory. So I might know a particular data, but I might not remember the numbers. Okay.
Yeah.
So at that point of time, you can easily check the pre-scene and get the numbers. So don't plan to read the pre-scene during exams. So be familiar with the pre-scene before the exam, but pre-scene will be given in the exam. You can just refer to the numbers when needed.
Yeah, will also be given other exhibits, right? On top of
the other exhibits are given in the exam. That's the post-scene, yes.
Okay, got it. Thanks, sir.
Right. And students, meanwhile, along with that, you can also go through the practice platform, look at the post scene, the questions, and also look at the answer. The suggested answer is, a standard answer given by the examiner for the global students. So see, when ACCA is providing an answer, it's very standard. The examiner does not expect you to reach that level, but that is something the examiner provides so that you can get influenced. So it's good to just go through those suggested answers and see how the examiner has worded the answer, how the format is. When it comes to presentation slides, how has he managed his slide? It's good to do this because you can get inspiration from that and organize your answer in a similar manner. But keep in mind, the examiner does not expect you to provide the same thing. Okay, because you are still students, so it's totally fine. But that's also a good practice which I totally recommend you, so that you can follow something very similar in the exams. Good, guys. Anything else?
All good, sir.
That's it. Right. So let's wind up. Let's wind up our session today. I'll be sharing. Okay. All right. No worries. Sure. I'll be sharing that PDF which involves the formats as well as this particular draft, this Word document in the revision just after our class. And I'll see you next week. We'll work on the pre-sim next week. Okay. All right, guys. Good night and have a nice week ahead. And happy time studying.